Happy birthday!
Woohoo! We
Woo!
just had someplace have a birthday.
69.
6'9". Yep, that is right.
Is that why they downplayed this entire
Oh,
birthday? They were just
No,
1,000%.
like,
no,
let's
no. They
just
they do the they do the fives and then the tens. So next year for the 70th, we should see
Yeah,
a
but
bigger to do.
Daniel and I were there on the 59th
Mm,
because he went to a special merchandise event for the kickoff to the 60th
mm.
that day. And they had, I would say that there was more to do that day because I feel like the ramp up to the 60th was bigger than obviously the ramp up to the 70th,
Yeah,
which rightfully the 70th should mean nothing. The 75th is what matters if we
right.
live that long.
That's a
So,
big one. Yeah.
um, but I was working at Disneyland on the 49th birthday, and I don't need to tell you what the ramp up to the 50th was like.
Oh, it's
Let's
huge.
just say
Yeah.
I was there for that whole entire year of that ramp up. Everything got painted. I think I've
Oh
said this
yeah.
before.
Well,
Everything
yeah,
got painted.
yeah.
The place
Gold,
looked
gold
like you could have eaten
off a
off
trash
of
can.
any of just almost every surface in that place because everything was immaculate. You could have licked the brass. It was so effing clean. Anyways, I digress. Anyways, but yeah, no, I mean, I feel like yeah, the 69 notwithstanding, there definitely seems because I hear no button. But then how have they been doing buttons? Is that still a thing?
Um,
Because if they haven't been
occasionally.
doing buttons, then no button for the 69th is not a big whoop. But if they've
No, they
been
haven't
doing
been. No.
buttons and then there's no button for the 69th, then I'm calling big whoop. So you guys tell me. You guys are the ones who've been going to the parks for the last years that I haven't been.
And
So
I was there. I was there on the day. There was no button. There really kind of hasn't been buttons. I to back up your point. Back in the day, I don't know, 2015, 2016.
well,
There
yeah,
were
there was
buttons
buttons
for
for
everything.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
buttons for
I have
everything.
buttons that literally are talk like
But I'm
Dory,
talking about I'm
right?
talking post pandemic. Have they
Yeah,
been
no,
doing
not not like
are
that.
we talking about buttons? Okay, then I'm gonna say that Disney gets a pass for not having a button on the
Right.
69th because if they haven't been doing buttons, then why expect them to have a button? They did have a pin, so at
They
least
did
there
have a
was
yes,
pin.
that.
Yeah.
because that makes the money.
Well, yeah, obviously buttons don't
Disney,
make them money.
well, post pandemic, Disney has really been about cutting corners and costs and still like charging the most amount of money for it. So that they've been playing with that ratio, you know.
And yet
Yeah.
they are still kind of generous sometimes, and they do seem to have been more generous towards the key holders lately than they were to the pass holders at the end, as in free Viva Navidad bags up the wazoo. But yeah, no, Disney is definitely not just giving stuff away anymore like they used to, where buttons for everything, freebies for pass holders on everything, because there would have been probably something for pass holders too, possibly. Who knows? But uh, and then once again, no. I mean, I don't know what they have planned for the 70th. If anything, I hear that there's a big stuff going on backstage with the cast members for the 70th because I guess some forward to the 70th or some catchphrase or something that is being used by cast members got out and people thought, oh, they're doing stuff for the 70th. No, it was just for cast members because Disney does that for cast members. They like to prepare them for what's going to happen in the future, usually, unless of course it's for the ones that are striking, which they could probably give a crap's ass about, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there. So back to the birthday though. The birthday just passed, anniversary. The so they had the signs, right? You take pictures with. They had those in different locations around the park. I actually caught the one in Toy Story in the lot because it was there. There was no line to drive in, and I got there about 10. I got there about 10 in the morning. I didn't because of traffic. leaving where I live in the Inland Empire to get to Orange County, where I just kind of avoided the traffic. No line to drive into the parking lot. No line for security. No line for the bus. I literally kind of walked right in. So they had the sign, so we took advantage of it and took it there. It says Disneyland, 69 years of magic, and then it has the date. That's kind of all it was. Cool though. I mean, I dug that. It was something that I knew, like, I'm gonna get a picture with that because it's the birthday, it's the actual day. I don't get to go too often on the actual birthday. That was also my wife's birthday, so we've tended to do things with that. But this year, she took a different position at work, so she had to work on her birthday. So I was like, well, let me go for a few hours in the morning, and then I can come back before the traffic, from Orange County back into the Inland Empire, and then I took her to dinner with the family and stuff. So that's what we did. But no button. There was just that and the cavalcade,
Right.
which
I saw a
just a
video.
short. Yeah, that was actually. I mean, it was cool. It's 2 minutes long. I literally walked up. I saw it kind of in front of the castle. I don't know, less than 10 minutes before it started, and had a front row seat on the curb. Just kind of sat there for a few minutes and watched it go by. A 69 on the vehicles and balloons, and then the big birthday cake float at the end with the 69 on it. Lots of characters. The band, which I thought was really neat. They included the band because it's Disneyland's anniversary, and not
band, so that was cool.
Mickey Mouse or whatever it is. So that was kind of cool.
People were
hyped, but it wasn't anything crazy.
There seemed to be some confusion because the video I saw, there was the cast, the entertainment people that were in front of the band that were dressed with the like Mickey and Minnie kind of sort of. The girls had the red skirts and stuff, and the men had red pants. But at some point, you see them run from in front of the band and run to the back of the band, all of them. And then some of them are just kind of lingering there, but then they go to the back because you see they're holding the popper things that would then get popped at the end.
Oh, okay. So to go over that, I didn't see them move. It came to a stop kind of in the middle of Main Street, like just past, actually just in front of what used to be the camera shop, right there, the holiday shop. That's kind of where it stopped, and everybody sang happy birthday, which was already past where I was when I saw it, and I kind of saw it in passing because I was leaving the park at that time. They did that, and then they popped the things because I saw Custodial with long pickers try to get the streamers that they popped out of the trees. Like, what's that guy doing? Oh, he's got a picker and he's trying to get the streamers out of the trees.
Yeah, the video I saw, which was from the aforementioned person, was they showed the streamers in the trees and commented about, oh, great, somebody's gonna have to get those down.
That's exactly what happened. And I knew it was gonna make a stop. I had ended up getting some pics taken in front of the castle because it's Disneyland's birthday. Why not have a picture, on the date there, and got a little magic shot with Tinkerbell in it. But I had asked, oh, it makes a stop, and he said, yeah, somewhere up here. I chose the wrong spot. I mean, I'm glad I got a front row view of the cavalcade actually passing by, but it would have been cool to get
because the stop ended up being in Town Square, right? Basically.
The stop ended up being in front of not Town Square. I think they might have done two, actually. I think actually the cast member told me they were going to do two, but the first one was in front of a little bit up from the partner statue, just in front of where like I said, the refreshment corner is in the Jolly Holiday, just up a little bit past that. Kind of a weird spot. When you think about it,
weird.
where the board is that has the times.
Yeah,
right there for the it's right there. I was like, that's kind of a weird spot to do this. I would have thought in front of the castle. That just kind of makes sense as it kind of came around that corner or right in front of in that space where it splits off to go like, here's the castle, here's the Matterhorn. That would have been a nice spot to do it because like you're literally in front of the castle. But I don't know, is what it is. I had a fun day, hot AF. It's been so humid here in Southern California. I'm sure you don't miss that. And trust me, I will not miss it when it's gone because I was there last night too. And even at 11 o'clock at night, man, it was still humid. Like it was kind of gross.
It's been hot here too. But we have air conditioning now, so.
Well, so does Pirates, which I got on. So does that place next to Bengal Barbecue, that little where it has all the seats now. They do in there too. We just kind of like, okay, I can't take this anymore. Let's hop on a ride. I rode more rides yesterday than I have in quite a while. I think I rode 5 or 6 rides, and I haven't done that in quite a long time. Just partially just because that's not what we go for all the time, and then partially because my knees have been super bad lately. That walking too much, it's been a chore. They're getting better, but like it's slow progress. But anyway, so that was the 69th. We'll see what it leads up to the 70. The pin, I didn't end up buying the pin. I can't remember if it had Tinkerbell on it, I believe. It was cute, but I don't
it was
do
basic.
anything with pins. Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy.
I was surprised that it was only $20 and not $25.
Yeah, so I just
especially
haven't
for
done
the
that.
size and the fact that it had a spinning feature, which I think.
Matter of fact, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think it only said 69 on both sides. I don't think there was anything on the other side.
I don't think so. Like I said, I looked at it. They had it in the window of the pin shop there on Main Street, and then I saw somebody ask for it and look at it, but I thought about it for 2 seconds, and then I'm like, do I really want to spend $20 on that where I'm not going to do anything with it? And I turned it down. I actually just bought on Prime. I actually just got a folder to put a bunch of pins in. I have one. Somebody years ago gave me one that is Disney, and I filled that up, but I have more pins. So I was going to put them in there to display them and just have them all in the same spot. So it's like, oh, let's look at these because I have a bunch of them from all these years. But
I kind of pin folders on Amazon.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
are they reasonable?
I think I got mine for maybe less than $30, and it was it looks like it has 6 pages, so 12.
Will that hold the pins, just the pins, or will it hold with the backings too?
You mean I'd have to take the pins off the backing?
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I have a lot that are still on the backings.
So
some of the backings are just like really cool in themselves, you know?
Yeah, so I need to actually figure out. I just thought about that actually. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do with those. But I keep all the backings anyway. Even the ones that I do have displayed, I still have the backing. So we'll do something with that. So that was the 69th. One of the things that I kind of will tout a little bit more are the Magic Bands. I am becoming more and more of a fan of the Magic Band just because it's doing more. So my son that day finally saw one. We were just looking around in the store, and he came across a Toy Story one, and both how big of a fan of Toy Story my son is. So he saw one, he really liked it. He said, "Dad, like I know I have the one that you got me from Company D." He's like, "I kind of really like this one." It's like, "Okay, are you gonna wear it?" He's like, "Yeah, I'd wear that. I like this one." He's like, "The other one's okay, but I really like this one. It's Toy Story. It's got the alien as the puck, and it has Buzz on one side of the band and Woody on the other." So I said, "Okay, if you're gonna wear it, like I'll get it." So I did, and he wore it pretty much most of the time yesterday. So I gave my brother the one that my son was using, and man, they were going off all the time. A lot of the newer rides now have that tech. So if you just walk, I got on Web Slingers twice looking for trucks yesterday, the Pixar trucks, and it randomly it starts flashing red and blue. So that it's kind of cool. It is. And then we walked up to I don't even know if you know this, Gina, the big Pixar sign in DCA, the one they have right now. It's Magic Band activated. So you walk up to it, when you feel your Magic Band buzz, you make a circular motion with your hand, and then randomly one of the characters lights up and it talks. He gives a phrase from the movie. So that part's kind of cool. So we caught it last night after DCA had closed. People were still shopping on Buena Vista Street. My son and I were messing with it, trying to get it to do stuff, and did a few times. And then just other places we'd walk around, it would just go off. I thought it's freaking cool. I asked my brother, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I kind of like this." So I kind of like it's ease of entering to get into I don't need to get out my phone, which I know is not too much of a hassle. I just get out my phone. Yeah, but I got to get it out and open it up. Hope the app is connected, all that kind of stuff. This really is just scan the thing. For pictures is fantastic. When you get pictures taken, it's there. I really can't wait until they add the I can pay with this at a store or something. Yeah, that's the part that I can't wait for. But I am becoming a fan.
Perfect.
I just don't think I need to buy a whole collection of them. I really like the one that I have that I got for like $10. I have the little puck on my watch. The thing I got from Etsy, and I'm good to go. unless I see something that like, oh my god, that one's amazing. I don't see myself with 10 of them. Gina has them too.
I love them. I didn't have it. We just went on the 13th. That was the last time we went, and I did not get a chance to charge it. We just had a lot going on, so we just went with our phones. And I was telling Aaron, I'm like, I actually miss having it because it was easier for a lot of things. And if you buy Genie Plus or you have DAS or whatever, and you want to go through the lightning lane, it's way easier when you're getting into the park. The cast members love it because it's so easy. They just touch it and go. I had a cast member thank me for having it. I think they had gotten just like a lot of people at the booth who couldn't find their tickets or whatever. It was like earlier in the day, and so they were very grateful that we had a magic band because it was way easier for them.
Even for the pictures, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, way easier for the pictures. It's so nice, and like because the pictures are included on our level of key, I take a lot of them, so it's nice to be able to have them do that. So yeah, I am looking forward to the day that they have it attached to being able to pay for things. That would make it, I think, perfect, but it's fun. You know, I don't know if I would spend $45 on it. I would really have to be in love with that magic band, but the one we got for $10, or if you find one on sale, totally worth it.
So let me tell you, he actually picked one that was $45. And then with my discount, I walked away and I think I only paid $35. So I was like, oh, okay, son. Yeah, definitely now. Like I was okay with it because he like, if he's going to use it, because I know he likes it. He has it with him every time we go and he at least scans in with it. He finds it easier than his phone to do that. But like, oh yeah, the discount bringing it down that $10 or whatever it was. I was like, oh yeah, I'm good with that. I'll take that right there. Sure. So that's
looked
that's
at
cool.
a few like Star Wars ones. He hasn't found anything that he feels he wants to spend that kind of
This
money
one.
on, but he always looks at one. He always looks when we go, because I know for him, if he found one that he liked the design, he'd get it and then wear that instead of the one attached to his watch. Because it is a little clunky, because I wear my smartwatch. It is a little bit clunky to have the puck on there. You have to kind of get used to it. So if you, especially like I have some sensory things sometimes where I don't want to wear anything. But aside from that, like, yeah, I like it too.
That's funny because last week after I came home, I decided, I need to shower if I'm going to go to take everybody to dinner. So I came and I got in the shower and I left my watch on because obviously I have an Apple Watch, it's waterproof. I just didn't take it off. And then I got in the shower and realized I still had the puck on it. I forget it's there. So I was like, oh, crap. So all of a sudden now I got to take off the watch because I'm like, I got to take this thing off. But that's pretty funny. But so that was my trip for the birthday and kind of a little bit on what we've been doing recently. I was down for quite a while. I think the last time we podcast to you, I think I just gotten over COVID. So here we are. I'm better from that. Got some other stuff that's kind of subsiding that I had to deal with. But I'm glad I've been able to get to the parks a little bit more. This was supposed to be the summer of I'm going to the park every week and I'm going to Universal, and that just hasn't happened. Life had a different path set up before me, but we're getting back.
The best plans.
Yeah, big stuff coming up. Anthony will take an interest in this. So I'm going to Comic-Con this week. I have all 4 days plus preview night. I am a professional technically. So I've got that. There is one day, and I believe it's Friday, where most of the panels in one of the room are Star Wars. So I'm going to be in that room actually most of the day on Friday, which is kind of cool because it starts to get busier on Friday. Thursday is like the day to kind of shop around usually. And of course, Saturday is really busy. So there's a panel about Black Spire Outpost and the foods there. So I'm going to take care of that. There's one on high-end Star Wars collectibles. I was going to check that out. There's one on memories of, I think, the first 2 movies, the originals. So I'm going to check that out. Patton Oswalt is moderating a panel, and those are in kind of smaller rooms. They're still big, but it's not college or anything. Patton Oswalt is doing one on, I can't even remember, I think on the books and the comics. So that's in Ballroom 20. I'm going to try to get into that. We can't hear you, buddy, if you're trying to talk. Are you muted?
All right, I had nothing to say for such a long time.
No, that's fine.
No, yeah, no, I believe it's the publishing panel that Patton Oswalt is moderating.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to go to that. So there's a bunch of different things I'm going to do. We saw some different panels that we're interested in. My knees will thank me for that. I don't have to walk around all that time. I do have one of those chairs, though, that expands, like those collapsible ones. I do have one of those. I'm going to take a break every so often out in one of the lobbies and just kind of relax for a little bit. No rush. Being there for 5 days, I don't have to rush for anything. Um, I'm not really into trying to get autographs or anything crazy. I do have I was able to get Hasbro time for their exclusives because I put in for that. So I think there's a Darth Maul on his speeder that's the Black Series that looked kind of cool. So I think I'm gonna pick up that just because I can. And then there's another one that's a Transformer one. Not gonna lie to you, I may get one of those and flip it to see if anybody make it worth my time, right? That's it. I'm not looking to do anything crazy. It's just like if I buy it for this price, if I can make $30 on it, I'll be happy. I'm not trying to get a ton of stuff. I think my brother and I will split it. So just make it worth my time. I gotta stand in line to do this anyway. Let me just get this and make a couple bucks on it. Nothing crazy. I'm not gonna resell popcorn buckets or anything, but I'll do that. So that's where we're at as far as that is concerned for this next week. So I'll come back. I'll check out all the Star Wars stuff and see what Disney has out there and report back the next time that we talk on this one about what they did. Then not long after that, Daniel and I do have a ticket for D23 on the Sunday. So we will be checking out that as well. Just obviously seeing what we can see because so much is different this year with some of the bigger stuff being at the Honda Center. He did put in to try to get into some panels. So we'll see if we get drawn for any of that. Other than that, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't really looked at the schedule. Having only one day instead of the 3 days or whatever it is like normal because it was so fucked up the way they did it this year. I'm just going to take in what I can take in. It's not really that big a deal. See what I can see and enjoy what I can enjoy. That's my plan for that. So that's what I've got coming up. Anything going on? Anything you want to discuss? I know we got to talk Acolyte. That's coming up. I know we got to talk Strike. That's coming up. Anything other you want to throw in there before?
No, just looking forward to see what is announced, what isn't announced, what gets announced that never happens. Well, mostly that's D23 stuff, but
Yeah.
No, it just seems like it's hard to get excited for these big announcement cons anymore when half of the shit that gets announced never happens. It's really depressing, and Disney especially is just. It's like I don't want this podcast to become a Disney is depressing and sad podcast, but Disney is depressing and sad, and there's no escaping that. And just there's just like it was people are constantly posting things, the shit posters are constantly, but it just then also reminds you of things, and it's like they remind you of things that were announced at D23s of the past that have not yet come to pass. And it's just like, well, that was promised to us like 4 years ago. And it's just hard to get excited for anything if you don't know if it's actually going to happen. You know what I mean? I mean, Adventures Campus, the e-ticket ride at Adventures Campus was announced. How long ago?
Twice.
Well, it was announced, and then it was announced revised, and it's like.
Yeah. And there's been no news since. Have you realized that? No news since.
Nope.
So I don't think I ever go to these things. I think that's because I don't concern myself with I have to be in the room for the parks and panel or like I've never thought about it like that because some of it is me being lazy and I don't want to put in the effort to try to do that. And for years I couldn't. Like I can't spend overnight in the line, man. It just I couldn't when I had my kids were little just because I couldn't. I got little kids. I don't have the time to do that. And then, it just became like, I don't want to. That's not fun to me to, give up 20 hours for something that's an hour and a half. That's stupid to me. So when you're going to see it all online better than when I was in the room, way in the back or whatever, that's stupid to me. I'm a fan of the hey, we're going to do this and it's going to be a random drawing. And, there is no waiting. Like, if you get in, you get in. If you don't, you don't. Comic-Con actually did that with the Deadpool versus Wolverine panel. There was a gap in the Thursday Hall H schedule. And people noticed Hall H ends really early. So turns out it's going to be a Deadpool and Wolverine panel. And they sent an email and said, there's no waiting for this one. You're in a lottery. And your lottery, if you win, you get you. And if you say you want a +1, you can get a +1.
A +1.
That's it. That's it. So I signed up for it, didn't get it. Am I hurt by it? No, because it was fair. Everybody had
is what it is.
Instead of having to wait 24 hours, in line.
I mean, you say that now until you find out what they're going to give out at that point.
No, I don't think that actually bugs me. I think if I'm there, it's cool, but I'm not hurt if I don't get it. And I've never been one to spend hundreds of dollars to buy whatever it is they gave away. That's just not me. There's only the tiniest bit of FOMO from me, but I don't care. It's really not going to bug me. What people are anticipating them showing the movie, because just the time slot that it was given, that's enough to show the movie and then have a short Q&A, and then it's confirmed that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds will be there. So whatever is what it is. I'm not hurt by that. You know how exclusives are, man. It's going to be sky high the first 2 weeks, and then it's going to drop significantly. So, none of that stuff has bothered me. So maybe, I don't know. Friday, there's some stuff that's that would be cool to see. Maybe Friday I'll drop by Hall H and be like, is it open? Because sometimes it is, later in the day. The Marvel one on Saturday, no. That's going to be hard to get into. But sometimes later in the day, you can just I'm just going to walk in. That it happens. So I'm always of the mind of any of this stuff. Whatever happens, happens. I just go to check out what I can see and what looks cool. And just to say, hey, I saw this. It looked cool. Because I guess on the back end of it, most of the shit might not happen. Or they show it to you well before they should, because it's still years away from actually happening. But they're just kind of showing off. So whatever.
Yeah, I'm done with. I don't think I'll ever go to it's been 10 years plus 15 years, 20 years now. Well, 20 years ago I was going to Comic-Con. 20 years ago I went to my second Comic-Con. And it couldn't be any more different. I was at the Comic-Con when Iron Man was unveiled. Mm-hmm. The movie, the first one, and the Marvel booth, which was, you can't even fathom, Dan, how small the Marvel booth was at that point.
I can.
There was no MCU booth. There was no, it was just so funny that on Friday there was this big wooden box at the corner of the booth. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after the Marvel panel, the box was opened and the Mark I suit was there.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool. But you can't enjoy that stuff anymore because it's just way too crowded. And it's people would be, you can't take pictures of it. You can stand back and take pictures of stuff back then. It was just so great. It's just I wish there was digital cameras and stuff. It's I have no memories or pictures of any of those cons because it's there was no such thing as good cameras. So unfortunately, but I had fun and I didn't have to stand in 15-hour lines. So.
Yeah, I'll never do that. I will never do that.
No, I want to go to Emerald City is within reach, which I've always wanted to go to Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle. And but that's within my reach, and I hope to go there. And then here in Portland, they have Rose City Comic Con, and I hope to go to that at some point. And but those are still both I would consider. Emerald City's up there, but it's not. It's no San Diego Comic Con, and it's never going to be that crazy. Nothing is. The only thing that might come close is New York Comic Con, only because it's right in the middle of Manhattan. Come on, it's crazy. You can't avoid that. But other than New York Comic Con, I don't think anything will ever come close to San Diego Comic-Con. And even then, San Diego Comic-Con at some point, there's no way that San Diego Comic-Con isn't too big to fail. At some point, the bottom's going to drop out of everything, and
might be getting close.
Right, for a couple of years during pandemic, we thought we might be on the precipice, but who knows? We gotta see because the more and more studios decide they don't want to send their stuff to Comic-Con, the more that Comic-Con is just going to revert back to what originally was, which is probably for the best anyways.
And that blow up, you know what people blame that blow up on, as interesting as this sounds, people blame that on Twilight. Twilight was the first franchise that really sent people from it big, and that's kind of when the studios noticed, people will show up for this stuff, and it's promotion for them.
It's true because I was there.
Yeah,
I was at that Comic-Con. I believe it was 2006.
Yeah,
and that was the first panel. Let's put it this way: I don't know when you were going, Dan, but
that same time. I stopped going. I think my last one was.
Do you remember?
And that was huge.
Okay, was the big panel still in Ballroom 20 that year, or was that the first year of Hall H?
Hall H had just opened.
That was the first year of Hall H. Was 2005. Yeah. So right. Yes, so Hall H, they moved from Ballroom because Ballroom 20 upstairs used to be the main hall. That's where I saw the announcement of the title of Revenge of the Sith was in. 2004.
Yeah, 2004.
Right? 2004. Yeah. They announced.
I remember that. I was there because
in that room. Steve Sansweet took off his shirt. Yeah, Steve Sansweet took off his shirt, and the Revenge of the Sith logo was right there. And then they were selling it downstairs as soon as you came out of that panel. Yeah, that was the last great panel in Ballroom 20. And then
I didn't see that panel, but I sure had a shirt because I was on the floor when that happened. I remember the buzz. You could feel the buzz, like what's going on. The last Star Wars movie is called Revenge of the Sith, and then boom, shirts were all over the place with the Comic-Con logo on it because I had one. A whole 2 X's ago.
That's cool. So I was in the room when that shirt was revealed, and you were on the floor when the shirt was put out on the floor.
Sold. Yep, because I got
that's a nice little thing there. But then then things started getting crazy anyways. So they moved to Hall H, which was downstairs, big giant room. But you still didn't have a problem with lines going out the door or anything. That hadn't started yet. But then 2006, Twilight comes along. And then that's when the first one when the line started going out the door.
Overnight and waiting and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then you started having all that waiting out there on that lawn on the left side.
Different lines for different days. Ridiculous.
Right. Gina, you remember where that one hotel is? There used to be a parking lot there.
I don't remember that at all. Where the Hilton is?
No, the one that's to the left of when you're looking at the convention center.
Oh, that's
the one that they usually put a big wrap on the side of it.
Yeah, the marquee.
Yeah, that one. There used to be a parking lot there because I parked there for the one Comic-Con I went to by myself.
Oh, good God, no! It's so different now. So
I know,
okay.
I know. But just
Gina,
they used to get to park that close.
You've been to the convention center, obviously. You've been to San Diego with me, right? So looking at the convention center, the Hilton is to the. If you're looking at the convention center, the Hilton is to the left, and then right next to it, there's just a patch of grass. Those are chutes for lines. And literally, like that's where you wait. And the way it works is you have to be in line by 7:30 the night before to get a wristband, which will guarantee you to get into the next day's the first panel. After that, you're kind of on your own. It guarantees you into the first panel. But then people sleep there overnight to try to be there to get one of the early ones and then stay there so they can get in to get the best seats in the hall because they pass them out at I think they pass them out at 7:30 the night before, and you have to be back in line at 7:30 the next morning. Like that's actually how it works. That's ridiculous. It's way too much effort.
If people like it, I don't want to do that. I don't think there's any franchise of anything that I've ever been that committed to, but I also have ADHD, so I never commit to a lot of stuff. I kind of jump from thing to thing. But I mean, that's cool if that's your bag. Like, I know that there are people who go every year, they do it with their friends. It's kind of like building a community. It's like this is what they do every year. And for those people who do that, like, good on you. I'll watch your video on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok and live vicariously.
So
But
go
I
ahead.
just couldn't wait that. Like, I wouldn't want to sleep in a park overnight. That's
There are
not my
line
thing.
waiting groups. There are line waiting groups that people create, and
You
then
have
one
to.
person can hold the spot for 2 more people. That's how it actually works. So if I get in line and I'm waiting, I can hold spots for both of you. That's how it actually works. Then at some point, as we're camping out, I might be there from 3 to 7, and then we switch out, and Gina's there from 7 to 11. Then Anthony would show up and do the 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. one. Like, that's how it would work, and then we'd all meet up back at 7:30 in the
You
morning.
mean kind of like people have been doing at the Rose Parade for 50 years?
I don't know, man.
Yes.
I
I've never
cannot
wanted to
commit
do
myself to
that.
any of that. I don't want to do it. I have no desire. Don't want to sleep outside. I don't want to, like, and I know, like, they
Well,
leave Hall H open so you can use the restrooms and stuff like that. But it's like I have no desire. Like, none.
I've done two overnight lines, but both of them were indoors because they were at the Anaheim Convention Center, which they don't make you go outside. Well, I don't know what they do.
No,
anymore,
they shuffle
but
you in the basement.
they put you into the basement hall,
More people.
and they make a big corral and line system down there, which is great that they have down there. That they don't need to use that for the con. If they're not using it for the con, why not use it for something like that?
Though I don't know if they're gonna do that anymore because of the way. I don't think they need to do that. I don't think for the last D23 they did that because coming out of COVID they didn't want that.
Right.
So it had to be this, and then they came up with the system. They came up with the system of, oh no, they didn't. Was it Star Wars? For Celebration, there was no overnight waiting because that was coming out of COVID because it was 2022.
Right.
There's no overnight waiting. You had to, if you wanted to get into a panel, you had to win. Like, you had to put in points to do it, kind of like Comic-Con does. And if you got it, you got you and a guest into the panel, however many it was. I can't remember. I think it was just you and a guest. That, and then there was a standby line if you wanted to do it, but there was no overnight waiting. Like, if you wanted to get in the standby line, you had to get there when the place opened and go get in the standby line. There was no overnight stuff, and I'm a bigger fan of that. Of like, yeah, like, let's if I get it, great. I like the lottery because I don't need to get there early. I can get there and I know I got a seat. Don't need to be front row for most of those things because they have screens or it's in an arena, like you can see. And I think now with D23, the way they did it, with the tickets and the stuff for the Honda Center, you don't need to do that either. You got a ticket for that. You can do it. So I think that's the way to go. Some people don't like that because they're very old school, but I think it's equitable. It's equitable the same way that they do it when you're buying tickets, or the same way that not for D23, that was bullshit, but for Ticketmaster or even for Magic Keys or whatever, it's equitable to say we're all in a queue, just random. Or Comic-Con does it very well. You're on a queue, randomize. You're here. You can buy tickets if you want. I like the way that stuff works. So I'm glad. But yeah, it was the basement because that's where.
Yeah, it was the basement. If you're looking at from the outside of the convention center, it was on the far left. There's the steps that go down, and there's a big, huge basement hall. And you could go down there. First time I did it was Star Wars Celebration 2015, and in April, and I got down there at midnight. There was a sizable line, but I wouldn't say that I ended up with good seats because the best part of that was in the morning when everybody had to get up, and then they had to walk you from that end to the opening panel, which was in the frickin' theater, all the way at the other end of the con. So that you had this big long line of people. You know how that goes. People just start walking, mixing, passing. Slower people, So you had this big long line of people walking from the one end of the Anaheim Convention Center all the way to the theater,
Yeah,
the arena.
Yeah.
So you know how that goes. But I ended up with good seats, and I will not regret that. There was people I knew, people that I people I was recently associated with through skywalking, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll bring them up in a minute, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so I knew people that I waited in line with. So it wasn't like I was there like with a bunch of strangers and it was lame. So at least there was that, and nothing can replace the feeling of being in that crowd and seeing that Chewie We're Home Force Awakens trailer, because it was a moment.
Yeah. 100%
You know what I
a
mean?
moment. And I think
So
that's kind of what people go for, those moments.
right. And it was just there was an electricity in that place that can't be replicated with that trailer. And and I don't regret going to that one. The one I regret waiting in line for. I didn't need to wait in line overnight with Bubba for the
Yes.
for the attraction, or for the not attractions, the live action panel at D23 that same year. I didn't need to do that, especially since the only person that I had to keep me company was Bubba, and then he disappeared half the time to do who knows what.
I don't know.
So
Karaoke? I don't know.
I don't know, because we were in the same underground place. The only thing nice about that is they actually they had, I don't know if they had installed them or if they just weren't using them for celebration, but they have screens up on the and they were showing Disney shorts, and they were showing, do you remember that Muppets online thing that they did with Walter? It was online only. It was like a YouTube shorts that they did with Walter. The Muppet from the Muppets.
Yeah, from the Muppet. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little short of
From the
thing
relaunch.
of Kermit had left and put him in charge or something, and with Scooter or something like that, and it was just, they were little shorts, and they played all of them during the whole night, so I got to see all of them the whole night. So at least I wasn't unentertained, so to speak. But that one I probably could have done without. But the one at Celebration, I'm glad I did that one. But I could never do it again.
So your friends are moderating a panel at Comic-Con. They are moderating one that is the classic Marvel comic books for Star Wars.
That makes sense, because they've been doing.
They've been doing a extended
podcast.
Universe story is what they're doing.
Yeah, they've been doing a podcast supplement for years on the classic Marvel Star Wars comics, or at least I think Richard has. So they're well qualified to moderate that panel.
I may actually sit through it because of other stuff that's going on in that room. I think most of my day on Friday I'm going to be in that room, and that's the room that apparently is dedicated to Star Wars. For most of the day, I don't have to leave. Which, again, I told you my knees will thank me for that. But I'm not up moving around.
Yeah, it's nice that there's still rooms that you can do that. I mean, like, not to go back to when I was going to Comic-Con, when you could do that in Ballroom 20 and just sit there all day. But man, I still
you do that in Hall H if you can get in.
I know. I still keep thinking back to that freaking. I know this is totally off subject, but that freaking Hall H, Kevin Smith's Hall H, when they dumped the whole entire room and sent them to that Star Wars concert, and left Kevin Smith with an empty room.
Yeah.
Which then he filled up. In fairness. Filled up about 3/4 of the way. I saw videos of that. People were trying to say, "Oh, Kevin Smith's so lame, you couldn't fill up the room." Well, yeah, because they sent the whole fucking room to a concert.
Yeah, Gina, are you aware of what we're talking about?
No.
No. Okay. So obviously Kevin Smith. You got to be a fan of Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith every single year, or I don't know if he does. Does he still do his Hall H?
No, he's doing something. No, he doesn't do Hall H anymore.
Going back to Ballroom 20 at Comic-Con several years, going back to the mid 2000s, Kevin Smith always had he ended Saturday, right? He
Yeah.
ended Saturday in what was then Ballroom 20 and then Hall H. He would end Saturday. He'd be the last thing.
He literally did not have to have anything to talk about. Nothing. Sometimes he'd have something to promote. Sometimes because he's who he is.
Do nothing. I love Kevin Smith. Like, he's very interesting. So yeah, he doesn't have to have anything to promote.
He would just take Q&A.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
basically.
I love that.
And it was super entertaining. I went to a few of his first ones.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of them.
And but he had one, and I forget what year it was. Was it the year of The Force Awakens?
I can't remember.
Or was it for Last Jedi?
So it
or
was
one of the Star Wars movies.
It was mid 2010s or something, because I don't think I went to that one, but I heard what happened. Maybe I might have gone, actually.
The Star Wars panel before, I'm pretty sure it might have been for Force Awakens. The Star Wars panel, which was almost always also on Saturday, and also almost always, no, Star Wars was always on Friday, which is what's weird. They had moved it to Saturday, I think.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
No.
The panel was right before Kevin Smith's panel. But at the end of the panel, J.J. Abrams gets up and says, hey, guess what? We're putting on a concert over here behind the, which actually incidentally was the same place later I went to the Star Trek Beyond premiere concert that they had behind Comic-Con on the little island kind of, behind Comic-Con where Joe's Crab Shack used to be.
Yeah.
On the water, there's that little island kind of isthmus thing that kind of goes out, and it's a park.
Yeah.
Well, that's where they had the concert, because like I said, I went to a premiere there. But J.J. Abrams gets up and announces everybody in this room gets a free concert, Star Wars concert, right now. So if you go on your way out, we're going to give you this thing, and then you just have to walk over there and you get the concert. So everybody got up and went to the concert. Kevin Smith comes out. There's nobody. Wasn't nobody, because by the time he walked out, people had filtered in. Because once they dumped the room, then people could come in.
And news gets out quick. Hey, Kevin Smith is in Hall H and there's no one there. Like, right. You'd be surprised. I don't even know how I found out about the movie. It really was just like this buzz when they announced Revenge of the Sith. You just knew. People were just talking about it all of a sudden, because those were the days before Twitter and all that. So it really was just like people just talking. So you figure it out, and he filled up a room. And he's always entertaining, but it was weird to know, like, he went on and it was like, oh, everybody took off to this. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but there was people on social media shit posting like, oh, Kevin Smith had to be in there with nobody, but then people countered back. People that were actually in the room would be like, no, here's a photo of the room 3/4 full. Not bad considering they dumped the whole entire room. Jesus.
I think I returned in 2018. I returned to Comic-Con in 2018 or so, and on Sunday, Kevin Smith was there on the Sunday, and he closed out Hall H. And my friend and I went. He did that short-lived, I don't remember what he called it, some little web series, or that he had a little sitcom thing, half an hour. I don't even remember what it was called. Something to do with weed, obviously. But he showed the first episode of that, and then took Q&A. I mean, we left. We had been there for 2 hours or 2.5. We'd been there for 2.5 hours already. He was still going, and we were like, dude, yeah, I'm starving. Like, let's go eat. So like we dipped on Kevin Smith. He was 2.5 hours, and he was still going strong, because he can. That's who he is, and that's what his power has been. He hasn't done that in a couple of years, but I think he's there this year. But I don't think he's doing any kind of thing like that. I think he's doing a signing or something. But he's always there because he's Kevin Smith. So,
right.
And he's you know what he's been doing? He's been hosting the IMDb boat. That's what he's been doing.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And doesn't he do Smodcast or something, like? And then he does stuff with Ralph Garman. So Kevin Smith does a thing. Yeah, every now and then.
I don't know if he does stuff with Ralph Garman still. He does Fat Men on Batman with
Babylon. Is the Ralph
Babylon,
Garman.
yeah, with
the Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon was the one with Garman, and then with Mark Bernard and the other one, and then he's always at the Cantina.
Yeah, but it's he's always a good time if you can catch him anytime, whatever. Let's um let's get into the Acolyte, I guess. Unless somebody's got any, oh, you want to talk to Strike real quick? Anybody got thoughts,
On
news
what?
on the strike?
What?
Oh, the strike.
I'll support the
Well,
cast members, whatever they need. And you know what, Disney, they won the strike in Walt Disney World when they did it. The cast members got what they wanted. Disney negotiated. And if Disney's smart, they'll do it again. They're not asking for anything unreasonable, in my opinion. But again, full disclaimer, I'm pro-union. I will
Yeah.
always be pro-union. And so I think Disney, it's in their best interest to just negotiate in good faith. And like I said, the CMs are not asking for anything wild and crazy. I will say that post COVID, I think that people's behavior is just atrocious. And the stuff that I have seen CMs had to deal with and customer service in general, it's ridiculous. And so it's not out of the ordinary for them to ask for more. They're also asking for, they're not going to get a livable wage in Anaheim, but they deserve one. And, you should be able to work 40 hours a week and survive. And so I have a real issue with
they're
them.
not-
So
They're
they're
and
not
I'm
screwing
not
around
gonna
this time, though.
I'm not gonna get into super specifics, but I know for a fact we all saw what the union is asking for. Um,
And
was
they're
it
super far
unreasonable?
apart.
No. Yeah,
No, definitely not.
it's not. Now, are they going to get all that? Well, usually when you threaten a strike and you sit back on the table, they might not get all of that, but it's a starting point to show that they're serious.
Here's the thing.
And you kind of like, you compromise between that, right? So they want this amount. That's not going to happen. The amount that they're asking for is not going to happen. But you can come to an agreement kind of in the middle that is like a significant increase in what they're making now, and it's fair. That's what this is. It's about fair negotiating. And
Here's
that's
the
how
thing.
he was dealing.
Here's the thing, though. When was it that we saw the strikes last time? It was before COVID, but I don't remember when it was. Do you remember when that was?
I don't remember at all. Did we see a
Oh,
strike?
yes. No,
If
there
it
wasn't. There was
There was
picketing.
in Florida
There was
fairly.
no actual strike.
I
Right.
don't know about Anaheim.
There was no actual strike, but there was picketing and there was problems. And then they came to maybe there was a strike. I don't remember. I don't think there was a strike, but they did have problems, and then they came to an agreement. See, here's the problem: is that you have this. This is a coalition, I believe, of different unions. I haven't actually looked into who all's involved, but I know Teamsters are involved. Which, number one, everybody knows, don't f with the Teamsters.
That's a strong union. That's a very strong union.
Yes. I mean, it's the strongest union that is at Universal Studios, and that's always been the case because that's the tram drivers union. They have to look at what happened with the last time Disney negotiated and gave all the unions a new deal, and how it hasn't really been that long in retrospect since the last time when they had to push Disney to the limit and threaten strikes and stuff last time. So I think they're in a position where they're like, once again, getting back to Disney is in a very bad look because of many, many things. This is another bad look that Disney can't afford, and Disney has to make a choice. And all of this has obviously been in the works. The stuff with the wanting more money. Clearly, this isn't just something that popped out of nowhere. You don't think that they've timed this perfectly with Disneyland's birthday and D23 coming up in the city, in that vicinity, that they timed it? Who the hell wants to have all this and out there picketing in the middle of hot? They could have done this in the spring. They could have waited until the fall. Why do it right now? Because it's Disneyland's birthday, eyes on Disneyland, D23, eyes on Anaheim. You're muted.
Sorry, Halloween coming up too. That's a big time. That's bigger for them than the summertime.
So you have this cascade of things that are about to happen for Disney that, like I said, they could have done this in the spring when it would have been nicer weather, but they waited until now. I'm sure there's a reason for that. They have to put Disney in the vice. They have to get as much as that they could squeeze out of Disney now. Otherwise, they'll just be doing this again in a few years, just like they've already done a few
Yeah,
years
3 to 5
ago.
years.
They
Yeah.
have to try and squeeze as much as they can get out of Disney right now, and basically be like, you know what? Because they voted the other day. The strike they have approval for strike. They haven't said they're going to strike. They've basically said outright, if you put us in a position that we're going back to the tables today. Today is Monday.
Yeah.
They were going back to the tables today. If the unions if Disney doesn't say things that the unions want to hear this week, then they can give Disney an ultimatum. If you don't do this, we're striking the week of D23.
Yeah. So
They have that power.
here's where
They
people,
could be
here's
like,
where
you know
people
what?
think wrong.
We have until then. We have until
Yeah.
then. We have 2 weeks or whatever it is until D23. If we don't settle this by then, do you want to see a bunch of striking employees out on Harbor Boulevard in front of Disneyland and in front of the entrance to the Anaheim Convention Center?
Which is public property.
Both sides. Yes. Do you want to see all that striking employees and then also have to deal with that you're going to be extremely understaffed and have nobody to work in all your places that all these employees would be striking from? So they might be in the best position that they could possibly be in.
Well,
right
Gina
now
and I
to
had
get
this conversation
more money.
the other day. Gina and I had this conversation the other day because a lot of people online think when the strike was authorized, if they don't negotiate today and tomorrow and it doesn't go well, that like Wednesday they strike. And that's not how this works.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's not how this works. Under union contracts, you continue working under the last contract until you get a new one. That's how it actually works. Now, if the strike is authorized, it's going to be deliberately planned. It's going to be deliberately planned to be at D23 or to strike during the first day of Halloween or something like that when they know it's going to affect business, and it will affect
striking
business.
right now does nothing.
No, the optics at D23 are fantastic.
The whole point of a strike is to hurt the company, but to show them how valuable you are. That's the point. The point is to show your worth as an employee. Like, that's the point of it. And I just did my 30-second Google search. According to a New York LA Times article, the last time Disney employees staged a major walkout was 1984.
Yeah.
So do I think that it's going to get to that, like to a point where Disney's going to be like, okay, calling your bluff, bet, walk out? No. I personally don't think so, but I've learned that
they can't hire people that fast.
Literally anything can happen. So I don't know what alternate universe I'm in right now. So I'm not going to say no.
Here's the other weird thing that we're saying, which tells me people don't know how unions work. So people are saying like, oh, well, Disney has, management, and those who are non-union are trained to do this. That's not untrue. They are. They don't have the manpower to do that.
They don't have.
You can't take just your leads who are not union employees, managers, and have them run the park. It doesn't do that. And
take it from someone who has worked at 3 different theme parks.
Ride operators, right?
Take it from someone who has worked at 3 different theme parks and was a ride operator.
Well, and we also have
management cannot run a ride by themselves. They think they can. Trust me very, very well right now. Management is probably sitting there right now, let them rock out. We'll do it. No, they think they can, but they definitely cannot, because management has been sitting around on their asses for so long. I guarantee you that they probably don't even remember how to run some of those rides.
Yeah,
but remember, and Disney cannot replace these people.
I don't know if ride operators are involved in the strike.
They are.
They are. Oh, okay. Well then, yeah, totally.
It's over. If they go on strike, dude, it's over, because that's what do you go for? I think, isn't it entertainers? Mm-hmm. I think parking is involved in this. Like, it's a free for all.
Not
the
food.
Tram drivers.
It's not food.
It's not food. So you could get a churro.
Foods
but that's about all.
Foods is, I think, one of the ones who got the deal last time.
And I guess it's only Disneyland too, because DCA has separate contracts.
Who are the Teamsters? Are
I'm
they
not sure.
tram
Enter-
drivers?
I want
Oh,
to say teachers are entertainment.
you know what? I think they're entertainers.
Yeah. And we have to remember
That's weird because they're
that
usually IATSE or something.
there's a shortage of workers in this bracket of like pay position. 16 and 17-year-olds, they've changed the work experience rules so much that a lot of companies don't want to hire 16 and 17-year-olds right now because it is a pain in the ass. 18, 19, 20, that early college age group is a lot of people who are going in to try to find jobs at that price point. But that's not an unlimited supply. And those jobs are a dime a dozen right now. And so if you want the experienced CM who knows how to do this in their sleep, and we all know that Disney's rides have been struggling. There was just a news article that they had to evac the Incredicoaster, and like the fire department was involved. So you need experienced CMs. Entertainment is experienced. I just saw the show at the Fantasyland Theater. It's so cute. It was like Rapunzel or something. It was really well done. I have to say that was really good.
I've never done that. By the way,
you know what?
well, I don't have a little
bought
princess anymore.
those cheesy garlic pretzel breads, and it
Those are
was
good,
hot.
by the way.
Oh God, they are so good. And I told Aaron, I go, oh, the show's gonna start, and they had like empty seats. I'm like, let's just sit here and eat our pretzel bread and
Oh, you're
watch
talking about a fantasy fair?
Yeah, and it was about
The little shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so adorable,
Sit on the
and
benches.
they were really
Yeah, I've
good.
seen some of them.
Good actors. They played with the crowd. Look, Disney, you're not going to go find somebody off the street to do that with no training. You're not going to find your management who's going to do it with reluctantly. They're going to do it reluctantly. But even then, what do you got? One manager to like?
You don't have the manpower.
You
don't have the manpower.
So just negotiate.
I just have to say that if custodial at all is involved with this,
oh, it's over. That's a close part.
It's over.
Yeah.
I worked for custodial. They better who do you think was still probably the only ones working during pandemic? Night custodial. I guarantee you night custodial at least had a skeleton crew during pandemic because they had to.
I've literally
otherwise
heard
that
other
park
podcasts,
would have opened back up and it would look like shit.
I've heard other podcasts where there's a pretty famous one where it's custodial team. They've interviewed people who were the ones working during pandemic. It was a very, very skeleton crew, but it has to be done, especially during COVID, because you had the managers who were working there in person and they use restrooms, right? And they use eating areas and stuff like that. So it had to be cleaned. So yeah, it was there. Oh, hold on.
Breaking news.
It's time to gear up for Halloween season. Starting July 27th, 2024, and while supplies last, Magic Key holders can be among the first to purchase select pre-sale merchandise from the upcoming Mickey Mouse Family Halloween collection. Select items are available to buy and pick up on the same day at World of Disney and Downtown Disney District when purchasing through the mobile order service in the Disneyland app.
So Lisa was off by 5 days. Would you say the 27th?
27th, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a spirit jersey that has the colors of candy corn. So it white, it bleeds into orange, bleeds into yellow, says Disneyland Resort on the back, and it's got Mickey and various characters on top. It looks like Mickey, Goofy, and Pluto on top, kind of in some Halloween attire. A lounge fly with mouse ears on it that is candy corn colored. That's actually kind of cute if you're into candy corn, but it's trash. A purple t-shirt that has skeleton Mickey with a cape on and some other characters looking kind of scared. That looks kind of cute, but it's purple, wouldn't do it. And then the front of the jersey, which is cute. It's got the D and then it's got the Mickey pumpkin right next to it. So Magic Key holders can get that beginning the 27th, mobile order through the app pickup at World of Disney in Downtown Disney. So it looks cute and you know it's going to sell. Speaking of which, yesterday, now that I think about it, and we'll go back to this conversation in a minute with the strike, I did see some of the new merchandise for Nightmare Before Christmas, including, this is kind of weird. It was a mesh hat that had Jack's face was the front right here, right? The bill was the Santa beard, and then he had the Santa hat on top that just kind of hung on top of the rest of the trucker hat. Kind of weird, but kind of cute at the same time. I'd never wear it, but it looked kind of cute. So I don't know. It's weird. Merchandise is dropping as we're only end of July, and we're a month away from Halloween.
Summerween.
Yeah. Anyway.
Summerween, everyone. I am anti-Halloween in August, but I'm in the minority, apparently. So here we are.
Yeah. So, well, back to the strike stuff. So.
Oh, I looked up who's striking, by the way.
Okay.
Hold on and let me pull it back up. Because that's what I do. Who is striking is...
While she's doing this, Disney is going to cave. They're going to come much closer to what cast members want than what Disney wants. That's inevitable.
So it says they represent 14,000 workers.
My God.
Ride-offs, store clerks, custodians, candy makers, ticket takers, parking attendants, and a few other employees. That's like their entire workforce.
So it's Disney, right? Disneyland. Because as I understand it, the contract for DCA is not up yet.
Yeah, this says thousands of workers at Disney's theme park and resort properties.
Okay.
So this is an AP article. So this is coming from the AP. It was approved by an overwhelming margin of nearly 99% of the members who cast a vote authorizing a strike. That's actually really good. I don't know if we at our union have ever gotten.
I don't think we've ever been that high. Yeah, that's ridiculously overwhelming.
That is a lot of people. And then they do say right here in the article, the vote does not mean a strike will happen. Only that union leaders now have the option, and that's how it goes. For people who've never been in a union, they don't understand. There are some like really specific rules regarding like everything, like even
procedures to follow. Yeah.
Yes, like even to have a motion. Like I've sat through union meetings where I just want to like put a spoon in my eyeball because somebody didn't raise their hand and ask for something to be like, I need it.
You need to make a motion
at this moment. And it's like, oh, geez, Louise. So they have to do this like very specifically.
Because otherwise you're breaking contract.
Yeah, you can't just wake up and be like, think we're going to strike today. Like it has to get to this point. And
it has to be in writing. And
let's put it this way: the fact that a theme park unions even have a provision that allows them to strike, to me, is shocking. Because I worked at Universal as well, and we could not strike. We were not allowed to strike. I don't think there was a single union at Universal of course that was over 20 years ago, but I don't think there was a single union that was allowed to strike. When I was at Disneyland, I don't think any of the unions there could strike. So that's a fairly recent thing that they've gotten the ability to strike.
We can strike
last time.
Like Gina and I can strike, but it's limited. We can only strike for
completely different. Yeah. We are not allowed to just like leave second period.
Yeah. No, it's a whole procedure that we do it too. But we are limited. Yeah. I want to say our current contract is 2 days or something like that we can strike. It's not like, because we realize, because we're in education, we're going to affect kids' education. So it's very limited in what we do. But, I'm sure, I don't even know the procedure because we've never gotten there, but I'm sure it's a call out.
It's just like Kaiser. My husband works for Kaiser, which is the major healthcare organization, and they have very specific rules regarding strikes and walkouts. And they had one last year, 2 years ago, and it was very, very specific. How you walk the picket line, when you walk the picket line, how you got paid, if you cross the picket line. And some people were allowed to cross the picket line for various reasons. So every place is different. And I haven't seen any specific rules and regulations regarding how those employees are allowed to strike if it gets that far.
Yeah.
But again, if they haven't had this issue since 1984, I don't see it getting there. But weirder shit has, in the last 5 years, I don't know what timeline we're on, but some weird shit's happened. So I'm not
Well,
going
I
to say
mean,
it.
I think in the past
I'm not gonna
Disney's
say
always had the to quote, the high ground. Disney has always had the high ground, I think, in the past, which has allowed them to strong arm the unions into taking well below what they should probably be taking.
Yeah.
I mean, the 80s were a different time. You're talking early Reagan before, things had a chance to be foobarred. So, um, now it's like, well, Disney's probably, in the last, since the Eisner era, Disney's probably been at we'll just throw something at them, appease them, threaten them, and then we'll be done with it. I don't think this may be the turning point. This may be the point where they're not going to get what they're asking for.
No, but it'll be a compromise of like, you don't settle unless you're comfortable with what it's doing. You aim for the stars and then know, okay, realistically, this is what we'll be happy with this.
I would be willing to bet that in the past the union has maybe, if they were lucky, gotten is 30 to 40% of what they asked for. Maybe even that's too much. I don't know how that usually works, but I would say that they couldn't have gotten more than 30 to 40% of what they've ever asked for, if not less. They might be able to get more than 60% this time. And
we're not going to get into all this because we've gone over it before, but people also need to remember it's not just about money.
No, obviously.
It's not just about money. It's always, I'm sure benefits are in there somewhere that we're looking at.
Yeah,
the conversation on this podcast before, how the attendance policy is very bad. Like, yes. It's ridiculous. There's other things there. It's not just pay, but pay is always, like, of course, the biggest thing, but it's not. It's more than that.
Pay. It's not even pay. The point, and what is the point, and what you keep hearing with every job that threatens strike or needs new deal, cost of living. That's
always what ours is.
It's always what it is.
How much are you going to give us in cost of living?
If the company won't give you a cost of living increase, which Disney has always been not much on the cost of living. I mean, over 25 years ago when I was at Universal, they were giving cost of living increases, but that was, once again, it's hard to imagine 25 years ago was a different time. We're talking about pre-9/11 even. So, cost of living, they think a cost of living increase is one thing, when cost of living increase in reality is a completely different thing. And that's the differences between almost every company in the United States right now, is what in reality cost of living increase needs to be and what they think cost of living increase needs to be. And that's where there's a revolution amongst all unions and all companies throughout the whole entire United States that's brewing about the cost of living disparity. And and surprisingly, it's almost a nonpartisan issue. It just depends on which side looks at it. But it's still almost a nonpartisan issue. Just one side looks at it from a completely distorted view. They want the same thing, but they look at it from a shitty way.
All union stuff really is nonpartisan. It's not. You're only looking out for what's best for you and the way that company is treating you, regardless of any kind of political affiliation. It's always supposed to be nonpartisan. But you're right. Different sides look at it from a different perspective, and it gets turned political when it's not. It's just trying to be able to afford something. So I'm going to say this is my last piece, and I got to get up real quick and take care of something. And I'll let you finish your conversation before we get into the Acolyte. But I'm going to let it be known that should they strike, and I don't see it as likely. I really don't. I really think Disney's going to break settle this so they don't have to deal with the after effect. But should they strike, I will not cross the picket line. I will not go to the park while they're striking at all. I will not do that. I'll just keep pushing my reservations back further until they settle and they're taken care of, but I will not cross the picket line. If Disney can even find a way to operate while they're striking. But give me less than a minute. I'll be right back. I've got to take care of something, and then we'll get into the Acolyte.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I would not cross the picket line. I support people when they strike. Like I said, solidarity in that for sure. But I don't think it'll get there. But again, 2024 has been wild.
Yeah, the things that weren't on people's bingo card for this year, much less people's bingo card for this week.
I have not seen Acolyte, but my husband told me he wasn't a fan of it. He said it wasn't as good as he was hoping it was going to be, and it was difficult for him to get into it. He didn't think the writing was all that great. And he knows that.
Can I just stop you right there? Can I just
stop you right there? He wasn't dogpiling on it. He just said it.
I'd like to know what qualifies all of these people to criticize the writing. I'd like to know what they're. I'd like to know what every single person who has talked shit about the writing in Acolyte. What are their credentials for saying that? Because everybody seems to be a goddamn expert on writing all of a sudden.
Well,
sorry, that's nothing against Aaron, but he's just parodying. He's just parodying the same thing a lot of shitty people are saying. That's all.
Yeah,
I'll stick up for Aaron all the time because he is a good guy, and he really is. He really is a fan of this stuff.
Guy to dog pile on things just to be that kind of guy.
And Aaron does like some stuff in Star Wars that's not popular, so I'll give him that. He's real. He's true about it. So
he's like a diehard fan. Like Aaron genuinely loves all things Star Wars. He is not just I only like episodes 4, 5, and 6. Like he likes all the craziness. He likes all the Clone Wars.
He really does.
He's genuinely he's a genuine fan. And he said to me, this is literally the first Star Wars show, movie stuff that he hasn't really found he connected to. He's literally watched all of them, and he's found good things to say about all of them.
Is it because he doesn't connect to it? Because it's not a time period that he knows? Because I know that that's something that a lot of people may be underestimating, is that the shittiness of it, people aside.
Yeah.
Because we're not even going to get into a fact that that Acolyte, I talked about it last time, Acolyte was doomed from the start because of people's preconceived notions with Leslie Headland and her former employer, women, lesbians, all of the buzzwords that people want to throw out, the DEI, all of the bullshit buzzwords that people want to throw out. Acolyte had so much going against it from the get-go. But then on top of it, it's from a time period that up until this point only existed in comic books and books. The High Republic. And if he has not read or consumed any of the High Republic, then I can understand why people would not feel anything by this, because it doesn't feel like their Star Wars. Because they have not.
That's probably it for him, only in that he does not care about any of that other stuff. He does not. Aaron does not care. Gay, straight, trans, DEI, wokeness, that does not faze him. He and I both have a you do you kind of philosophy on life that way. So he doesn't care about any of that stuff.
Because using writing as an example to not like something, and then yet episode 2 literally exists, is bullshit. Because episode 2 has some of the worst writing ever put on.
Hold on. Episode 4 is so freaking talky. There's so much talking in episode 4.
Yeah, you know who wrote that one?
It's hard. Yep. It's
George.
Hard to get people, when you introduce this to people, because I do it a lot because I'm such a fan of it, that a lot of kids.
You don't ever start with New Hope.
I kind of have them do that because where else would you start? But I go in saying, look, you want to start here because it's the original. Like, you'll like the fight scenes. I'm like, but I'm going to warn you, there is a lot of talking in the movie. You have to pay attention to the talking. Once you get past that, if you get into episode 5, then you start to get into it. Then you really start to get into the whole story of it all. But it takes that one, right? Because I always give that preface. It's like, you got to sit through this one, but you got to pay attention. I'm telling you, there's a lot of talking.
But I like episode 4's dialogue. I think that a lot of the dialogue
because we're such a fan of this. It does. But in this day and age, to get kids who are just nonstop on the go, social media, every instant, it's not that.
Yeah, I guess.
100%,
it's
not
I'm
that.
not looking at it through that lens.
Which is what people don't understand.
Movie.
You cannot gauge modern writing, modern storytelling with storytelling from the 1970s.
Right.
Or even storytelling from the 1980s or the 1990s.
I take a little bit of a different perspective too. So I think the way that this was told, because there's a lot of like, here you go, and then there's a lot of flashback. There are whole episodes where it's a flashback. That's a very Tarantino thing. That is a very Tarantino thing to do. To drop you here and then okay, now I'm going to take you and I'm going to show you what happened leading up to this. And people don't like that. They don't like that it took a whole ass break to say, well, now let me show you what happened while you're here. Whereas to me, I'm like, oh, that's why.
You know who else? Well, you know what that's Rashomon.
Yeah,
that's a Rashomon thing,
right? And
that's Leslie being faithful to George and his love of Japanese cinema. And that's how Rashomon is a story told from two different perspectives.
And that's what I don't think people like that. They don't get it.
Because then it's not for them.
It's not sequential.
Then it's not for them.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought it was done very well. Writing aside, like, I'm not going to get into that because we just talked about Kevin Smith. Writing? Right. Come on, Kevin Smith? Like, come on now. Like, let's not. We're not supposed to be judges.
Kevin Smith will just say he's famous for writing dick and fart jokes.
I know.
He'll say that.
If you didn't like, and I'm not, I would never dog on Aaron. That's not what I'm doing. But a lot of people are using that. A lot of people are using that argument, and it's like,
it's a very triggering thing for me because of the people that are using it because they don't understand that you can't write for the same. You don't the people that don't understand how writing works. It's like, well, you fucking do it better then.
Well, they can't. Yeah, they can't. So, but to me, this wasn't about writing. This was about storytelling.
Yes.
And the story told is so grand because it literally challenges things that you didn't challenge before. That's what got to me watching this thing. Okay. And to be a fan of the entire thing, because I see a lot of them too. And I don't engage on social media because it's a waste of my time. People dogging on this. Yeah, it doesn't get this. No. What are you talking about? It does. This gets to the fact that, like, hey,
well, everything's a bad faith argument with any.
Yeah,
with any
you
place.
open up the idea that the Jedi and the Sith are not the only ones to use the Force. And in fact, it lends itself to stuff that's said in the movies. Because Palpatine, when he's trying to seduce Vader to the dark side, says, you can't just have the narrow dogmatic view of the Jedi. If you want to understand the great mystery, you have to look more into the Force. Like, hello, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, George laid it out all right there in the
there.
Prequels. It's right there in the prequels. People are just too narrow-minded to understand that George was right there. People were so close to understanding it. George was right there saying the Jedi are flawed. Qui-Gon is literally the voice in the first movie, laying it out.
Like this can't go bad.
Why must you always go against the Council Master? Because Qui-Gon is the one who sees that the Jedi have lost their way, and he's probably now in retrospect knowing that and things that I know from books, Qui-Gon has understood for a long time.
And
By this
it's funny
point,
to me.
that
It's
the
funny to me
Jedi
how
have
all these
lost their
people.
way.
It's funny to me how all these people who shit on this thing are the ones who like, oh, from the extended universe, his helmet is made out of this. I'm like, did you not pay attention to that stuff? Because it's all right in front of you. Yoda in the second movie, Mace Windu suggests we need to inform the council that our ability to use the Force has diminished. Yoda literally says, if you do that, our enemies will know what's up. So he already is suggesting
And
we
then,
have
and then,
enemies when the Sith are not supposed to exist.
and then in season 5, I believe, of Clone Wars, Yoda says we need to hide from everyone the source. It's when they find out the source of the Sifo Dyas and the clone, the order for the clone army. Yoda is the one that orders that be hidden. That it
What
was.
I love about and this is what I love about Star Wars in general, and I really haven't gotten into a lot of these like offshoots, mainly because I just don't ever sit down to watch stuff like this, but I genuinely love Star Wars because of the lessons that it's telling. Yoda is one of the most supposed to be the most like enlightened guy, right? Like he's the guy who's at the most with the Force, good on ya. But even him, he has just a little bit of self-service, like he's a little self-serving in that, and a little political in that he holds, he understands that he has to lie by omission, and he has to do all of this stuff for the greater good. And the politics of it all, and looking at that, even the people who seem to be the most enlightened and worldly or spiritual have flaws and are flawed and are corrupt to some extent, and that's the Jedi as a whole. And now with Acolyte, correct me if I'm wrong, because it takes place like 100 years
before the first movie. Yeah.
100 years before the before the prequels.
Phantom Menace. Yeah.
And 100 years after the last part of the High Republic novels.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then from what you guys are saying is that even 100 years before the first movie, we are seeing the Jedi facing challenges of corruption and darkness, and how they're trying to overcome or hide that or play it off differently, or break off into factions. And maybe some people, the reason why they're bitching about the writing per se, maybe it's not the writing. Yes, it's the storytelling, but maybe it's a story that they don't want to have told. Maybe they don't want to.
100% it. They don't want to be told their heroes
they don't
aren't as noble as they think.
Yeah, and then also because just they don't want to be told that they haven't been paying attention to Star Wars since the beginning. Because to be honest, the signs with Yoda have been there from the very beginning. From the moment Yoda appears on screen, he's deceptive. He lies to Luke.
Yeah, and there's a lot of omission. There's a lot of omission.
From a certain point of view.
Yep.
Does not get told, and he is a pawn, just like his father before him. Because if you watch
Obi-Wan
3, they fucked Anakin over so goddamn bad. That poor kid, like, you have to, a part of you by the end, you're just like, damn, they played you, kid. I'm sorry. That sucks.
Well, and okay, so here's the thing. Since you're bringing up Anakin. So Osha, the main character in this, and this is complete spoilers because that's what we're doing. So if she and her quote unquote sister are created by the Force, then it's natural to assume they were split into two, because they said it was determined you are one
same person
split into two. So you have all that negativity from when you were young, that hate that's built up because of what you come from, what you went through, and then the fact that you couldn't, because she said it, I quit the Jedi Order because I couldn't control my negative emotions, which means she's full of hate. So it's not crazy to assume she's so full of hate even more than Anakin, that she bled that lightsaber while holding it, because that's the guy that caused all her pain by killing her mother, by taking her to do something to set her up to fail and not being able to deal with her emotions. Anthony, see if you back me on this one.
He didn't
Choked him,
say sorry.
when she choked him, right? Is it reasonable to say the next word that was going to come out of his mouth was, I love you? Is it reasonable to say that? Because it sounds like the reason is because he was going to say, because I love, and then he got choked. He was going to say he loved her, which is an emotion which Jedi are not supposed to have. They're not supposed to have those attachments. So they're flawed because you're trying to take away something that is natural in humans, natural in people to have those emotions.
Which brings it to David Harwood's senator line about saying that that the Jedi cannot control the one thing that they, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know what the exact quote, but you know the quote I'm talking about, Dan.
Yeah, he said one day somebody's going to come and.
Well, no, when he talks about the Jedi not being able to control the one thing they can control, and Vernestra says the Force, and he's like, no, your emotions.
Yeah, he did say something like that. I don't remember the exact.
And then he says that then he goes on to basically foreshadow Anakin.
To reference Anakin, yeah. So it's people then got upset by like, you can't. Anakin is the chosen one created by the Force. Whoa, you don't know what that virgins did on the thing, and they're Force users.
Well, and
introducing Plagueis only says he can learn from Osha how that happened and then create Anakin. It's all the same freaking story. It's just those different points of view.
Plus, you brought up a great point that I hadn't even considered. It's the yin and yang of it.
Mm-hmm.
There is plenty of yin and yang symbolism when it comes to the Jedi and the Force and everything.
Those two sisters embodied it.
Do you not remember?
Because did they not basically switch sides?
Exactly. And do you not remember in The Last Jedi when Luke takes Rey to the temple room in the Jedi temple, and there's that relief on the floor, and there's a yin and yang.
Oh, that we used. There was a yin and yang sign there. Yeah.
There's a yin and yang sign there. The one that was in the water. The sign mosaic. That was in the water. Yeah, the mosaic in the water. There was a yin and yang motif there, and there was several different references to yin and yang motifs in the Acolyte. That has to be what Leslie was going for with that theming, was the yin and the yang of Osha and May. And whether we find out the exact circumstances of how they were created isn't really relevant. I don't think it's where that's going.
Right. Yeah.
Or what it may mean.
Yeah.
Because remember, Kirill, the other mother, she's still out there. And she may be getting back. We didn't see a body. Okay. There was no sign of her that we know of. Might have to watch it again in the meditation scene again. But I mean, as far as we tell, she was there when Mother Anastasia was stabbed. But then remember, she bamfs out.
Yeah, I do remember that part.
But where does she bamf to? Did she bamf to the room with the other mothers and were doing the thing controlling? Or did she bamf completely away and, let's say, go back to her home planet of Dathomir and join the witches?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of places.
She could also be, some might, theorize that she could be somehow related to Maul.
Yeah. Open. This opened up so much more to the universe itself that I don't understand when people get crazy. And then the other thing that bothers me is when people say, well, you gave this to people that aren't fans. Okay, so that just means they're not going to do fans necessarily give fans lip service. They're going to tell a story because that's what they do. They're storytellers, right? That's what they're going to do.
They gave it to a fan. His name was J.J. fucking Abrams, and you shit all over his movie.
Right. And then
you gave it to a fan. He didn't give you what you wanted, and you shit all over the whole entire trilogy because J.J. gave you what he thought you wanted. You gave the fan So you guys shit all over what the fan gave you. Why should you be given that again? Because that's what JJ gave you, what he thought you wanted in Star Wars.
The funny part about that is I just actually watched, because I've been sick and kind of home. I just actually watched all 9 movies, and
Oh, nice.
I was just looking stuff up about them after I'd kind of watched them, and like, it's crazy to me how critically, highly critically rated Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are. They're very highly critically rated, especially The Last Jedi, which is the movie that so many people shit on. So many people shit on The Last Jedi, saying it drew you away from stuff, and then the reason 9 is bad, quote unquote bad, is because they had to fix the stuff from The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi has it's very highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is really low, but critically, it was good. This is Star Wars fans being Star Wars fans.
Yeah, definitely.
Hating their own stuff. But there's no way.
That's
I was going
fans shit all over Disney.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand why it's trendy to troll and be an asshole. I don't get that. But
because it makes you money.
Probably. I love
them money.
All of the Star Wars films. I liked all of them, 1 through 7. I like them all for different reasons, and I enjoy them. Collectively, what they've all brought to the greater good, and individually. I did like The Mandalorian. I kind of fell off season 2, but again, a lot of that has to do with just my own ability to be attentive. But I kind of want to go watch this just to formulate my own opinion.
You should, as you should.
And just to kind of get an idea. But again, like I said, I just have this way of not picking up on different shows.
Well,
I don't watch them.
Here's the weird thing about all these. I watch these, and when I watch them, I don't sit there and critically pick it apart. I watch it, I watch the story, and then later, a lot of times, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even think about it. As I start talking about it, my mind took it in, and then as I'm talking, my mind makes those connections. It starts to do it, because that shows you I am a fan. I'm paying attention to what they're saying and what they're saying. That's what I'm doing. I take it all in. I like them all. I don't have a problem with them all. I see what they did. Now, out of the 9 of them, I am going to tell you Rise of Skywalker is probably the weakest of all 9. But I see what they were trying to do. And I don't think...
let me tell you why you're wrong.
Bad.
I probably have at least 2 movies ranked under Rise of Skywalker.
Well, Attack of the Clones is one of them, because you already kind of brought that up.
Yeah. And The Last Jedi is the other one.
Okay. I challenge you to watch Last Jedi again. And kind of see what the message of the movie is.
Oh, I like Last Jedi in that it's a beautifully shot movie. Undoubtedly beautifully shot.
If you even say writing.
No, what all of the stuff with Rey and Luke is amazing. The end of the movie is near masterpiece. It's not Empire Strikes Back masterpiece, but it's near masterpiece.
Yeah, it's good.
For a middle movie. It's everything else that I'm not a fan of. It just I know what they were trying to do Empire Strikes Back, kind of, where there's a concurrent, the others are doing a concurrent thing to the training. It just the concurrent didn't work for me as well as...
Canto Bight stuff is not the best.
I like Canto Bight because I like that they got to do that.
Although I will forever
I just wish that everything would have tied in. I don't like The Last Jedi, but I'm not the Last Jedi hater. Don't get me wrong, because I am not a hater of anything Star Wars. I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to put a pin in that just in case. I don't want to say I'm, be a liar, but I'm not a hater of The Last Jedi. I just agree that we're going to run out of gas chase doesn't work for me. It works in a long show like Battlestar Galactica. I'm going to run out of gas and we need to get gas thing works in a show like Battlestar Galactica, but in a single movie, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So I don't want to get into a
from
long
point A, which is the place they're evacuating, to get to the place that they need to get to at the end.
I guess,
And
the only
then
thing,
for it just to be a long hyperspace chase in the middle just seems really, really like they could have done so much better than that.
I don't want to get in a long conversation,
No,
but
of course not.
does it change anything to think that basically because of the way they're set up, 7 and 8 is basically one big long movie? Because 8 takes place immediately after 7.
It does.
So in looking at it like that, you're leading. It's still basically, quote unquote. I know it's not, but same day.
I agree. I just feel like that the stuff that wasn't the Rey and the stuff that didn't involve Rey and Luke or the end of the movie felt like a TV show. It felt like an episode of, like it felt like it could have been in one of the Star Wars streaming shows.
I understand that, but I still lose it when the little kid picks up the broom with the Force and kind of raises it up.
Yeah, that's the end of the movie.
I lose that. I lose it.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
freaking like that's a teary thing.
Yeah.
So,
but I just want to real quick get back, obviously, to Acolyte, and I want to say one negative thing about it because, to be fair, because I do have one major thing I did not like, and it's not because of the reason that everybody else doesn't like it, and I didn't like Vernestra.
Oh,
and I'll tell you why. Because I have assumed all of the Vernestra material of
the canon
Vernestra
stuff, sure,
as a young teenage Padawan with purple hair and a wild personality, but yet super by the book, who has to go through her master dying, becomes a Jedi, gets a Padawan whose master had died, who I hope is not Kamir, because it would be weird because her first Padawan was named Emery Kantaros. And if you notice the name of Vernestra's ship, I believe in the final episode, it was the Kantaros. So her ship is named after her first Padawan, which doesn't bode well for what's yet to come in books that have not been really released to finish the High Republic saga. But I don't care that that's Leslie Headland's wife. None of that matters to me.
I didn't even know it was.
But her performance, she felt less like the Vernestra Rowe that I know from the books than Rosario Dawson felt as Ahsoka. Even the first time Ahsoka ever appears, or any time after that. She felt less like the Vernestra Rowe that I know of the books.
I did hear people talk about that, and I did hear the explanation of people who kind of enjoyed this was that that's her showing that even
she's been through a lot of shit.
But also become complacent in the Order.
Yeah, I can see it.
That's kind of her downfall is like that she's become too complacent in the Order. The way things are supposed to work.
I don't understand the choice for her to be bald.
I have no background with the character, to be honest with you, because I really haven't looked into any of the High Republic stuff.
But
that's what I heard.
I mean, just the performance just didn't feel like her. It's a joke throughout the books that she doesn't like to be called Vern, and it just becomes her name is Vernestra. Don't call me Vern Rowe, and and that's the Vernestra that we've come to know. But we know that she has also been through a lot of shit. And then in the 100 years in between Phase 3 of High Republic and Acolyte, she's probably been through a bunch more shit, like you said. Along with the Jedi, has become very complacent. And what you don't know from those books is that Yoda has already covered up things in the books. He covered up the existence in Phase 1, which is 200 years before Acolyte. 200 years before Acolyte, Yoda covered up the existence of a creature called the Nameless that could suck the Force powers out of a Jedi and turn them to dust. And then we don't know what's going to happen yet in the 100 years before Acolyte era, but we're definitely on the verge of Yoda covering up again the Nameless and other things related to that might relate to the Acolyte. Because let's put it this way, the term mother is not alien to readers of High Republic, because there was a woman named the Mother in the period 200 years before that led to the villains, the Nihil, that are part of the period of the High Republic that's 100 years before the Acolyte. I know it's confusing, but there are connections.
Oh
In
yeah.
the flashback, the second flashback, they refer to a hyperspace disaster 100 years ago that takes place in the very first book of the High Republic, Light of the Jedi.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again. Just I want to, but just to catch some different stuff that they reference that maybe I didn't get. I might still not get the reference, but to hear them talk about
Right.
stuff and be like, oh, that's gonna lead to something. But time to wrap this up because it's lunchtime. Gotta get that taken care of. My kids are finally awake because it was a long night last night. I didn't get back home till about 1:30. Um, and yeah, I had just woken up to be like, yeah, okay, you're just in a little while. Um, Anything else? I will be back in the parks. Like I said, I'm gonna go to Comic-Con. I'll get my Disney and Star Wars fix at Comic-Con for a few days, and then we'll be back. Actually, Gina and I will be back into the parks next week.
Monday.
Yeah,
Yep.
Monday.
Monday the
Monday
20th.
for a little fun. I'll probably go back. I'm almost done with all the Pixar trucks. I only need,
Nice.
I think 4 or 5 that I haven't seen in person. 2 of them, I don't know how I'm going to pull it off. One of them is the Columbia, which is never out.
Oh,
It's never out. That's going to be a
it's
difficult
on the
one.
Columbia, or you have to
On the
take
Columbia.
It's
Yeah.
on the Columbia.
And
Wow.
the other one is on the Matterhorn on the Fantasyland side. It's going to have to be a video. So I can get it because it's only on the one side. I think
I saw
single
that
rider.
one. I didn't because I got on there, which is rare. I usually am on the Tomorrowland side, but I didn't have my phone out. But I was on that side and I saw it. But I
So
didn't have my phone out at the time. That one's gonna be a hard one for you. Did you get the one on the water ride?
no, that's the other one that I got to do. So I've got to do the Grizzly River Run. I know where it's at, so it shouldn't be that hard. And then I have to get on the Incredicoaster. There's one more. That's 4 of the 5. I can't remember where the other one is. I have a whole list, but that's 4 of the 5. So I'm almost there. Oh, Guardians is the other one. I just haven't been able to. Yeah. No, I don't have a problem with Guardians. It's just I haven't wanted to wait in the line. So I was there at closing yesterday, and it was like an hour, and I'm like, I don't want to wait an hour in that line. I'm like, let me go get the one on Mike and Sully because that's 10 minutes, and it's getting near to closing. So if that line drops to a half an hour, I'll do that. And it never
Where's
did.
the one
Actually
in
went to
Guardians?
90. In the office.
In the office.
In the pre-show.
The pre-show. Yeah, that makes sense.
I was gonna get on Roger Rabbit yesterday to get the one because it's in the queue. It was like a 30-minute wait, which is kind of more than I want to wait for Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
So I got in. I was like, okay, I'll suck this up and just do it because I'm here. So did it. It turns out it's not that far from the entrance to the queue to where it's at. So I got it.
Okay.
You just turn around and left.
And then I was like, I really don't want to wait that long for this ride. And the kids were like, us either. Like, kind of want something to eat. Up, turn around, walk back out. So got it. And then I will give a shout out. We talked about cast members. We support the cast members. 2 great interactions with cast members yesterday. One was both sides of Web Slingers have different trucks. So we got on Web Slingers at about a 30-minute wait and got on the right side, saw it, did some other stuff. I was like, hey, it's just before closing. It's a 15-minute wait now. Let me see if I can get on and get the other side. So my son and I were the ones that decided, okay, we're going to get back on. So we did, and then they shuffled us in, and we were like, they closed the line a few people behind us. They closed the line. So I was like, okay, let's see how this works out. Hopefully we get lucky, and because we're like 5 or 6 people before the end of the, like anybody else they're going to let on the ride for the day. Hopefully we get this side. So they shuffled us in and then cut the line off with like those last 6 people behind us. And so I asked the cast member, hey, what side is going to open right now? Can you tell me what side is going to open? And she said, she looked at the little panel and she said, it's going to be the right side. I said, okay, can I ask you a favor? can I wait for this last group? I'm like, I really want to see the Pizza Planet truck. I saw that one. I'd like to see the one on this side. She said, oh, that's not a problem at all. Yeah. She's like, actually, the one on that side is cooler looking than the one on this side. So I think it looks cooler. And I was like, okay, you were wonderful. So I did drop her a cast compliment in the app.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then when I got on Indiana Jones last night, 15-minute wait for Indiana Jones last night. Hear that, people? 15-minute wait for Indiana Jones if you do it late at night. Yeah. It's in Indy's office. And you know how there are usually 2 lines that go past there? The line nearest his office, they weren't even using because it was that slow. So when I got up near the other one, I said, hey, where is the Pizza Planet truck? And the cast member actually said, I don't know where that is. I know where the little spaceship is. And I said, that's it, actually. So she said, oh, it's right here. And I was like, I can't see that. And she's like, oh, just break that rope. It's one of those magnetic ones. She's like, yeah, come over here. So she let me through the other side to get some photos and stuff. And then she said, yeah, just get back in line whenever you're ready to get back in line. And I was like, okay. I couldn't see her name tag, though. Like, I never did get to see her name tag, so I couldn't drop her one. But they were very accommodating to the fact that I wanted to see these trucks. And then I got on the ride, and it really was less than 15 minutes to get on the ride. So that was kind of cool. So shout out to them for helping me take care of my stupid stuff, my stupid obsession with seeing all these trucks. I'm almost freaking there. I don't know how I'm gonna get that Columbia one. I might not, but I've seen a picture of it. Yeah, I might just go with that. But I'm gonna go.
Is it downstairs?
It's in the captain's quarters.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's closed off.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna go down swinging. Okay. If I only miss 1 or 2, you'll know I went down swinging, and I've seen most of them in person. Like, I actually saw it with my own 2 eyes, much like Anakin did to Luke in Return of the Jedi. Anything else before we call it? Nothing?
No.
Okay. After Comic-Con, before I go back to work, before Gina and I go back to work, do it again. Let you know what we see at Comic-Con. We'll have more updates on what's going on, because with negotiations with this, Halloween will be even closer. I think they should do it D23, man. That would be great. I don't think they're going to do it, but that's the stuff we talked about. I think is very, very relevant. Unions do not do anything just on a whim, by the way. If you don't work with them, no, it's very, very deliberate and on purpose. So.
Yeah, I don't think they would wait until Halloween, because that would be a whole entire month.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're not going to get anywhere in a month of negotiating that you can't get in a week and a half.
Right. It's like, hey, you got this.
And be like, hey, unless you want us out in front of. Because even then, even if they don't strike before then, they're still out there protesting.
Yeah, you can do it. Don't forget, you can do it in front of the Honda Center too.
So, because they're out there, and I'm surprised some of them are out there in uniforms. My other half was like, "Ooh, some people would be in big trouble if they got caught out there with the uniforms on, because that's firing. You're not supposed to be. You could strike probably, but you definitely can't protest with a uniform on."
Yep. All right. So I guess we'll talk to you all soon. I'm sure the other stupid memes will come up in the chat and all that, but we'll talk to you all soon.
I'm gonna stop. All right.
See ya.
Disney Culture is a part of the Extraordinary Culture podcast universe. Follow my Disney stuff on IG and YouTube at Dan's Disney Adventures. Follow my Disney stuff on TikTok at Danzig77. That's DANSZIG77. Thanks for listening. See you real soon.